Hi, T. Carlson here. I've covered the Death Wish movies on this channel several times, and there have been many reissues of each of these films, and now Kino Lorber has given us new Blu-ray releases of these films. Today we're looking at Death Wish 4, The Crackdown from 1987. Produced by Menahem Golan and Jorn Globus, and of course from the Canon Film Group. I'm going to unbox this release and share my opinions. I love the art on this slipcover. That looks very nice. Charles Bronson there doing what he does best. Back cover with all of our pertinent information. And one thing I like, under the slipcover, the art is actually different than what you get on the slipcover. This is more photographic rather than artwork. Inside the case, unfortunately, it's pretty much just a plain case. I wish I'd done a little more with that. I'll read the description of the movie as follows. The vigilante is back with a vengeance. Superstar Charles Bronson blows the drug underworld wide open in a blazing quest for justice and revenge in Death Wish 4, The Crackdown. Haunted by his violent past, Paul Kersey struggles to forget the brutal deaths of his loved ones and his obsessive one-man battle to avenge their murders. But when a dose of toxic crack kills the young daughter of his new girlfriend, Kersey again becomes the infamous urban vigilante. Vowing to wipe out the entire cocaine network of LA, he skillfully lures two vicious, competing drug empires into a bloody turf war. But there's a sinister force behind the scenes with his own diabolical plans for Kersey in this powerhouse action thriller, which marks the seventh team-up between Bronson and legendary director J. Lee Thompson. The Death Wish sequels are largely these low-budget, exploitative, violence, action, revenge thrillers. I mean, that's simultaneously the best and worst thing about these movies. I, for one, will never get tired of seeing Charles Bronson blow away street trash, and that's why I was very enthused to pick up this release. J. Lee Thompson directed this film. He'd previously directed the latter two films in the original Planet of the Apes series, and also had a pretty wide resume aside from those. I mean, Charles Bronson always does a good job in these films. Obviously, he's fighting villains, but we also see him having to juggle an everyday working life and a romantic life with the inevitable battles that he must face. This time around, we see him back in LA after the events of the third film, and he's trying to settle down with a very nice lady who unfortunately loses her child to the drug trade, prompting her to go and do research and stories regarding this to hopefully prevent anything else from happening. And this starts out with really great promise. Unfortunately, the rest of the movie pretty much shafts the girlfriend until she has to come back and be part of the plot. So the love story doesn't quite work as well as it should, even if the performances are pretty solid. There are even some great roles to be had in this film from others who'd later become popular. Robert Axelrod, later the voice of Lord Zed in the Power Rangers franchise, has a brief appearance as an Italian restaurant bartender, and there's even a young Danny Trejo in the film. It is admittedly a bit hit and miss. I do sort of like how this was obviously influenced by Yojimbo and Fistful of Dollars, taking two warring gang and drug empires and trying to turn them against each other, and maybe even to a lesser extent being influenced by the James Bond movie You Only Live Twice. There are some aspects that don't fare as well, including, the obligatory corrupt cop subplot that it seems like every movie has to make. But that said, there are some really good plot twists in this movie too, including a major one that if you've never seen the movie before, you might not even see coming at all. Death Wish 4 certainly brought the series back down to earth after its ridiculous, over-the-top third movie, so you don't quite get the silly, over-the-top, cartoony villains and action violence of the previous movie, but having something a little more grounded and rooted in reality is not necessarily a bad thing. Death Wish 4 is by no means a bad sequel. If you're not into low-budget, exploitative, violent movies, though, I don't think the movie's going to change your mind. There have been a few releases of Death Wish 4 on the Blu-ray format. There was an earlier combo pack that had Death Wish 2, 3, and 4. There was also a combo pack released overseas that had the 4th and 5th movies in it, which I believe was not region-locked. I don't own any prior release of the film, so I can't say how this compares to the earlier releases, but I'm happy to say the print here is in really good condition. Much of the movie does have sort of a dull, flat color scheme to it, but I think that's just because of how the movie was originally shot. As is, it actually doesn't look half bad. The print is in very good condition. It's amazing how these movies were these low-budget, exploitative productions, but all of their prints actually remain in better condition than movies from a lot of the bigger studios. So I do have to say, as a fan, I was happy with what I saw here. I think with a proper 4K Ultra High Def release, it could look even better, but as is, I'm certainly not complaining. Sadly, it is a little lacking in the bonus features department. We get a commentary track and some trailers, and that's about it. Would have been nice if we could have gotten a few more like making of featurettes and things like that, but if you just want to own the film on Blu-ray, this probably is the best release to get. So I can definitely recommend this one to Death Wish, Charles Bronson, vigilante, action, exploitation, cinema fans. If you fall into any of those categories, I don't think you'll be disappointed here. Are you a fan of the Death Wish franchise? Do you think this is Charles Bronson's best performance as Paul Kersey? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to this channel for more content. I'm always posting new videos, and make sure you give this one a like if you found it helpful. I'm Taylor T. Carlson. I'll see you next time.